What if the reason you're still sick years after COVID is not one thing, but actually 13? Hey, welcome back to the Energy MD podcast, where we help you resolve your long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome naturally so that you can get back to living your best life. I'm Evan Hirsch. For over a decade, I've been helping people recover from long COVID and ME/CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. And one of the most important things I've learned is that the spike protein in COVID virus do not damage the body in just one way. The research now identifies at least 13 distinct mechanisms, and understanding all 13 is what changes everything about how you approach recovery. So today I'm going to walk you through all 13 mechanisms, what researchers have found works to address them, and then the deeper reason why so many people treat the mechanisms and still plateau. Because there is a layer underneath the 13 that most people never get to. If you're watching this, you've probably tried a lot of things. Maybe you've tried rest, maybe supplements, maybe you've even worked with a functional medicine provider, ran a lot of tests, did a protocol that helped a little bit, and then stopped working. It does not mean you did something wrong. It does not mean your body is broken. It means the problem is bigger than what most providers are looking at. So long COVID is a multi-system illness. Researchers have documented more than 200 different symptoms across multiple organ systems. And the reason the symptoms are so varied is that the spike protein can drive damage through at least 13 different pathways at once. Once you understand those pathways, your symptoms stop feeling random, and the path forward starts to make a lot more sense. So let's start off. So number one, viral persistence. So the spike protein does not always leave when the infection clears. It can hide in your gut, your brain, your heart, your lungs, your lymph nodes, and your skin for months to years. So even though you tested negative a long time ago, fragments of this virus may still be sitting in your body driving inflammation. Number two, endothelial dysfunction. So the spike protein directly damages the lining of your blood vessels. That lining controls blood flow, inflammation, and clotting. When it's damaged, nitric oxide drops, oxidative stress rises, and circulation to every organ becomes less efficient. This drives fatigue, chest tightness, cold hands and feet, dizziness, and exercise intolerance. Number three, microclots. The spike protein activates clotting pathways and creates tiny fibrin clots that resist normal breakdown. These microclots block oxygen delivery at the capillary level. This is one reason someone can have completely normal labs and imaging and still feel like they cannot function. Number four, complement dysregulation. The complement system is part of your innate immune defense. The spike protein activates it inappropriately, driving vascular inflammation, synapse destruction in the brain, and microvascular injury throughout the body. The immune system is trying to protect you, but the protection response becomes part of the damage, unfortunately. Number five, immune dysregulation and T-cell exhaustion. After COVID, the immune system can become overactive in some areas and underactive in others. Cytokines stay elevated. T-cells stop functioning properly. The body cannot clear the infection, and it cannot calm down. This is one of the core reasons why people say, I never know what body I'm going to wake up in. This is not weakness. It's an unstable immune system. Number six, autoimmunity and molecular mimicry. So the spike protein shares structural features with human proteins. So the immune system starts producing antibodies that attack your own body, including your heart, your nervous system, your joints, and your blood vessels. Functional autoantibodies against adrenoreceptors and angiotensin receptors have been linked directly to POTS and dysautonomia in long COVID patients. Number seven, mitochondrial dysfunction. So your mitochondria produces 70 to 90% of your body's energy. The spike protein causes mitochondrial fragmentation and metabolic failure, especially in muscle and brain cells. This is the biological explanation for post-exertional malaise. It's not deconditioning. Pushing harder does not build stamina, it creates a crash. Number eight, neuroinflammation and blood-brain barrier disruption. So research published in 2025 confirmed that the spike protein accumulates in the skull bone marrow and meninges for up to 4 years after infection. Once there, it activates brain immune cells called microglia, causing chronic neuroinflammation. This directly drives brain fog, memory problems, headaches, light sensitivity, and neuropsychiatric symptoms like anxiety and depression. If your brain stopped working the way it used to after COVID, that's not weakness. The brain is inflamed. Number 9, autonomic nervous system dysfunction. So the spike protein damages the brainstem and intrathoracic receptors and triggers autoimmune attacks on the receptors that regulate the autonomic nervous system. The result is dysautonomia. The body cannot properly regulate heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, temperature, or breathing. 57% of long COVID patients have exercise-induced dysautonomia, and about 10% develop POTS. Number 10, gut microbiome disruption. So COVID disrupts your gut microbiome significantly, with loss of beneficial species and overgrowth of opportunistic pathogens that persist up to a year or more. Since your gut is connected to your immune system, brain, and nervous system, this dysbiosis fuels systemic inflammation, food sensitivities, histamine reactions, and neurological symptoms all at once. Number 11, serotonin depletion. About 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in your gut. When the spike protein persists in the gut, it suppresses serotonin production. Lower serotonin impairs vagus nerve signaling and directly drives fatigue, brain fog, mood changes, and memory problems. This was confirmed in a landmark study from the University of Pennsylvania published in Cell, which is a magazine. Number 12, reactivation of latent viruses. So the immune dysregulation caused by COVID allows viruses and other infections that were previously dormant to wake back up. The most common are Epstein-Barr virus and HHV6, but you can also have other infections like Lyme disease and parasites. Once reactivated, they compound immune exhaustion and drive more inflammation. Many people think they only have long COVID, but COVID was often the trigger that exposed a pre-existing terrain problem. It can also act as a biofilm disruption that can allow the release of these infections from their hiding places. Number 13, last but not least, ACE2 receptor depletion and renin-angiotensin system imbalance. So the spike protein binds to and depletes ACE2 receptors throughout the body. When ACE2 is depleted, angiotensin 2 builds up, causing vasoconstriction, pro-inflammatory signaling, and impaired tissue repair across the lungs, heart, kidneys, gut, and brain. This is one reason COVID can affect so many organs at the same time. So that's 13 separate mechanisms running simultaneously in the same body, in you. So here's where it gets important. So researchers have identified treatments that target a number of these mechanisms directly. So for microclots, agents like nattokinase have shown early promise in breaking down fibrin clots that resist normal breakdown. For viral persistence, antivirals, certain antimicrobial herbs, and immune support protocols are being studied to help clear viral reservoirs. For dysautonomia, nervous system regulation tools like breathwork, vagus nerve stimulation, and certain medications are being used with success. For gut dysbiosis and serotonin depletion, probiotic and microbiome restoration protocols, along with tryptophan and serotonin precursors, are showing benefit. For mitochondrial dysfunction, mitochondrial support nutrients, pacing strategies, and reducing toxic burden have been shown to help restore cellular energy production. And for neuroinflammation, anti-inflammatory protocols, nervous system regulation, and addressing upstream triggers have been used to calm brain inflammation. So many people do experience real improvement when they start addressing mechanisms directly. And that matters. These are legitimate targets. But here's what I see over and over again in my practice. People address one or two mechanisms, feel better for a while, and then plateau, or they relapse, or new symptoms appear. And the reason is not that the treatment stopped working. The reason is that something upstream is keeping those mechanisms switched back on. So here's the question every person with long COVID eventually asks. Why did some people recover on their own and I did not? The answer is the toxic 5. Here is the 3-layer model I use to explain this to my clients. Layer 1 is the trigger, COVID, and the spike protein started the fire. They initiated the 13 mechanisms we just walked through. Layer 2 is the perpetuators, or basically these items that cause things to continue. These are the heavy metals. These are what I call the toxic 5, the heavy metals, the chemicals, the molds, the infections, and nervous system dysfunction. They are what keeps those 13 mechanisms running after the acute infection is gone. They are why the fire does not go out on its own. Layer 3 is what you feel every day. The fatigue, the brain fog, the crashes, the pain. Those are the smoke and flames from the mechanisms that are still active because the perpetuators are still present, those toxic 5. This is also why some people recover from long COVID on their own and others do not. The people who recover quickly tend to have a lower toxic 5 burden going on. Once the acute viral insult resolves, their body can quiet the mechanisms down naturally. The people who stay sick the longest tend to have the highest pre-existing toxic 5 burden. The spike protein lit the match, but there was already a lot of fuel in the room from these toxic 5. And here's something important. The toxic 5 are not just triggered by COVID. Heavy metals, chemicals, molds, chronic infections, and a dysregulated nervous system can drive most of these same 13 mechanisms entirely on their own. This is why people develop ME/CFS without ever getting COVID. The pathways are the same, the trigger is different. So let me be specific about how each of the toxic 5 perpetuates the mechanisms we just covered. So heavy metals like mercury, lead, arsenic directly impair mitochondrial function, keeping mechanism 7 running. They suppress immune regulation, keeping mechanisms 5 and 12 active. Standard blood testing almost always misses chronic metal burden, which is one reason this perpetuator goes unaddressed for years. Chemicals, meaning pesticides, plastics, solvents, flame retardants, drive ongoing endothelial damage, keeping mechanism 2 active. They disrupt hormones and immune function, keeping mechanisms 5 and 6 cycling. And they are not a one-time exposure, they're daily exposures. Mold and mycotoxins from water-damaged buildings drive cytokine dysregulation and neuroinflammation, directly perpetuating mechanisms 4, 5, and 8. Mold is one of the most commonly missed perpetuators in clinical practice, and one of the most powerful drivers of a treatment-resistant presentation. You can address every mechanism on this list and still not recover if you're sleeping in a moldy building. Infections, including the spike protein itself, Epstein-Barr virus, HHV6 virus, Lyme, Bartonella, Babesia, parasites, yeast, directly perpetuate mechanisms 1, 11, and 12. Testing for these is imperfect because serology depends on a properly functioning immune system, but in long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome, the immune system is dysregulated, which means the test can look normal even when the infection is still part of the picture. Whether you're looking at the immune system's reaction to these infections or even a DNA test or a PCR test. The longer I do this work, the less I test and the more I treat systematically, because I've seen too many people recover when we addressed infections the lab said were not there. And nervous system dysfunction. The autonomic nervous system locked in fight, flight, or freeze directly perpetuates mechanism 9. But it also amplifies every mechanism on this entire list. When the body is stuck in survival mode, detoxification slows, immune system regulation breaks down, inflammation increases, and repair cannot happen. Every single mechanism gets worse when the nervous system is dysregulated. So here's the bottom line. Mechanism-level treatments matter. Nattokinase for microclots, antivirals and herbs for viral persistence, gut repair for dysbiosis, mitochondrial support, nervous system regulation. These are real legitimate targets, and many people get real improvement from them. But if you treat the mechanisms without addressing the toxic 5 that are perpetuating them, you will gain ground and then lose it. The microclots come back because the mold is still driving inflammation. The mitochondria improve and then decline again because the heavy metals are still impairing them upstream. The infections quiet down and then flare again because the immune system is still dysregulated by chemicals, metals, and an overloaded nervous system. So you can bail out the boat all day, but until you fix the drain, you're working against yourself. This is why every person I have seen fully recover has addressed all 5 root causes systematically. Not instead of addressing the mechanisms, in addition to it. The mechanism level work creates relief. The root cause work makes that relief last. So what do you do with all of this? First, absolutely stop blaming yourself. If you're still sick, it does not mean you are weak, lazy, or not trying hard enough. There are real biological mechanisms at play and real upstream perpetuators driving them. Second, If you've been addressing symptoms one at a time and plateauing, that is not a failure. That is information. It means you likely have the toxic 5 perpetuators that have not been addressed yet. Third, start reducing what you can control today. Cleaner food, filtered water, get out of any building with a history of water damage if you possibly can, and calm your nervous system every single day with breath work, vagus nerve stimulation, mindset work. This is not optional. It is foundational. Fourth, work with someone who understands both the mechanism layer and the root cause layer, the toxic 5, and who is willing to treat systematically even when the testing is imperfect, like we are. If you want to understand exactly how I address both layers, the 13 mechanisms, and the 5 root causes that perpetuate them in the right order, I made a free masterclass that walks you through the full framework. You can go to fixyourfatigue.com. That's fixyourfatigue.com. And the link is in the description below. I would also really love to hear from you in the comments. So of these 13 mechanisms, which one feels most active in your body right now? Is it the mitochondria, the nervous system, the gut, the neural inflammation, the infections? Drop it below. I do my best to read everyone. And even though sometimes it takes me a little bit, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And if someone you know is still struggling after COVID and being told their labs are normal and everything looks fine, please share this with them. It could give them the map they have been looking for. All right. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode. I hope you learned something on today's podcast. If you did, please share it with your friends and family and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It's really helpful for getting this information out to more people who desperately need it. Sharing all the experts I know and love and the powerful tips I have is one of my absolute favorite things to do. Thanks for being part of my community. Just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. It is provided with the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. Thanks for listening, and have an amazing day.